Hello Year 10. Sorry, this is a quick video to help you, to explain to you how to answer the week 3 homework. So you should have been set your week 3 for Year 10. And this is actually to get you started practicing how to answer a response to Romeo and Juliet. So remember, in paper 1 you will be doing A Christmas Carol and you will be doing Romeo and Juliet. Now, the first thing that we need to kind of notice here in terms of the extract is that we've got one of the things that we didn't write in the homework, so it's good to actually tell you now, is that this is from Act 1, Scene 1. Okay, so that becomes actually really important in you being able to answer the question. Now, before I read the extract, I always read the question first. So it says here, how does Shakespeare use language to present ideas of love in Romeo and Juliet? Now, without even reading the extract, I know that there are different types of love in Romeo and Juliet and that different characters feel love differently in Romeo and Juliet. Now, thinking about the fact that it's Act 1, Scene 1, one of the first things that I know when it comes to love in Act 1, Scene 1 is the fact that, in particular, if we focus on Romeo, because I can see his name there, is that Romeo here is in love with Rosaline. So without even reading the extract yet, there is loads of information that I know about the way that Romeo feels about that love. He feels confused. He feels depressed. He feels actually quite frustrated by it. He can't quite understand why Rosaline wouldn't love him. And he's in pain. He's suffering because his love is unrequited. Unrequited love. This is love that is not returned. And we've all been in that situation where we fancy someone or we like someone and they don't even know that we exist. And thinking about them fills us with joy and excitement. And then when they don't talk to us and they ignore us, it makes us feel really, really sad. Now, one of the reasons why I've done this is because actually, if you revise the text and you know the text really well, quite often you know the answer before you even read the extract. So what you're trying to do then is work on the extract and find out, well, where are those things being said in the extract? Now, in the extract, we've got the following. So Romeo, just to give you a bit of background, is talking to Benvolio here. Talking to Benvolio. And Benvolio is trying to ascertain, he's trying to find out why Romeo's feeling so sad. Now, I'm going to read the extract and then we're going to pick on a few ideas. So, the first one. So, why then, oh brawling love, oh brawling hate, oh loving hate, sorry. Oh, anything of nothing first create. Oh, heavy lightness, serious vanity, misshapen chaos of well-seeming forms, feather of lead, bright smoke, cold fire, sick health, still waking sleep, that is not what it is. Now, the first thing that you can see in this extract is that Romeo definitely uses loads of oxymorons. Now, this is oxymorons. Now, this is a great opportunity to actually be able to zoom in on a range of ideas that are being emphasized by those oxymorons. Now, one of the things that, it doesn't always necessarily work, but I noticed that he puts positive words, so I'm going to use yellow for that, next to a bit more negative words. Okay, for the most part. Sometimes it depends on the connotations that you wish to explore. So, for example, when I look at oh brawling love, I would say that brawling is negative and love is more positive. And loving is positive, hate is negative. Anything means that there is something there. So I would say that that is kind of positive, and then nothing is negative. It can be quite isolating. And then you've got the word heavy, so that can be a burden. Okay, so love is a burden. But then you've got lightness. Okay, so it makes you feel good. Serious, and then vanity. Well, vanity is quite sinful because that means you're quite self-absorbed and all you care is about appearance. And why serious, I would say, is more positive here because it's about taking things with seriousness and thinking about them. Then you've got misshapen chaos. There you go, lovely. Everything is wild and uncontrollable and well-seeming form. So it presents itself as being good. And then you've got feather, positive. Lead is heavy. Bright, positive. Smoke is negative. Cold is negative, I will say. And then fire, I would say, is a bit more positive. And then you've got sick, negative. Health is positive. Still waking, I will say that's negative. It's almost like it's not letting you. Still waking means that it's annoying you, frustrating you. And sleep is somewhere that you can find peace. Okay? So can you see the way that you've got a range of oxymorons there? Now this is great. Looking at these oxymorons is great because what the oxymorons show is actually that Romeo has got conflicting emotions around love. And that is probably because actually society tells us that love is great. However, the reality of that, when unrequited, is that love is quite painful. And that is something that we see in the play as a whole. Love as this beautiful thing, but equally this destructive thing. And you can look actually at that through like filial love, like caring and loving your family is important, but it is awful when it leads you to actually killing someone. The other techniques that we also have in the extract, you might want to talk about the use of interjections. So I can't get my words out today. So O, 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 O. Okay, so you've got loads of interjections there. And again, interjections are used to show kind of emotional pain. They show actually how hurt he feels. So if you think about, oh, that is to show that pain, that hurt, that suffering. And he keeps on repeating it, suggesting that love in this extract is quite painful. And then, like, actually just the use of the word why as well, I would say, is another thing that I might look at, because why is a word that we use to show when we are confused. Is we're asking a question. And when we ask a question, it's because actually we feel powerless. We don't understand. We are in the unknown. And love can make you feel that sense of insecurity and feeling like you don't know what you want, or what people want of you, or how are you meant to feel. Now, I'm not going to write on the booklet here, but when it comes to you writing your answer, and remember that you want to be following Petal. Okay? Now, when you follow Petal, so I'm going to write Petal here. This is kind of my plan. You might not write, I kind of tend to leave a bit bigger areas for the analysis in general. You might not want to write your planning on here because you want to write your answer on the rest of the booklet. So you want to at least write one Petal paragraph. Now, in the success criteria, it says that you should zoom in on words and phrases that you might want to analyze, and that you want to explain the ideas of love that are presented through Romeo. And then it also says here, just for a bit of extra, can you mention a different character's perspective on love? Now, here is a great time where you could talk about either Mercutio as a foil to Romeo, because he sees love differently, but even the way that Romeo loves another character differently. In particular, Juliet, and how his love for Juliet actually doesn't use the same amount of oxymorons. The language is more positive, is more religious. It suggests almost an aspect of feeling cured and happy, and overall, actually, although they die, Romeo's love for Juliet and Juliet's love for Romeo heals and ends the feud. So love can be this force of wonderful power. But let's just do one Petal paragraph about the extract, and then you can think about how it can also go into the play as a whole. So the first thing is, when I start my point, I always talk about Shakespeare, okay? So Shakespeare presents love. Now, in the extract, Shakespeare presents love. I'm just going to put in the extract just to make it clear. And a few of the ideas that I've got here is as confusing and contradictory. Now, if you're going to say this, you do always want to follow that with a massive because. And your because, you can link it to what is happening in the play. So, for example, Romeo's unrequited love for Rosaline. But also, actually, you might want to even add a bit of AO3. After you say this, you might add a bit of AO3 and how actually Romeo's maybe struggling with this because he lives in a patriarchal society and he can't understand why a woman, in this case Rosaline, wouldn't go with him. Ultimately, you need to remember that Romeo, he is from a wealthy family. He's of the same status as Juliet. So why wouldn't Rosaline want to be with him? So that might be why he's struggling and he doesn't understand the feelings that he has. He's angry and frustrated and feels this pain, even though he should feel happy because he's a man. So you might not put that at all there, but that could be an idea that you might want to put in. Now, the evidence that I might use that shows this conflicting of emotions is I would use literally the first line, all brawl in love, oh loving hate. And I love this one because it means that, I might just actually put oh brawl in love, because it means that actually I can zoom in on the words brawling and love. So I can literally do magic circles with brawling and I can do magic circles with the word love. Okay, so what technique has been used here? So the technique that has been used here is oxymoron, and then when I do my analysis, I might focus, like I said, on using magic circles. So the word brawling. So what does this tell me about love? So brawling creates an image. It creates an image of fighting and highlights aggression. And this may suggest that love causes pain. And that actually, when we think of a fight, this can be actually quite overwhelming. And I like the idea of brawling as well because it suggests that love is having a physical impact on Romeo. Not just psychological, like he's locking himself up and not talking to anyone, but he almost feels this physical pain whilst being in love. So therefore, actually, it shows the discomfort of being in love with someone that doesn't love you back. Okay, that's the key here. Then I might decide to also, if I wrote about all of that, that'd be amazing. Then I might also zoom in on the word love. Now, when I think about love in general, love is actually creates an image of something being affectionate. It makes me think of something being peaceful, calm, and in harmony. It also actually suggests this idea of gentleness. So when we're in love, we experience this harmony and gentleness. However, because Romeo this love is not being reciprocated, then he actually feels like it's quite the opposite. So love is both joyful and exciting. And the way that I like to be thinking about this is that overall he says how love is both destructive and beautiful. And actually, we can see this. And if I was starting to link it about other places in the play, I might actually talk about, to some extent, you could talk about actually how Tybalt's love, and you might put here filial love, is actually ultimately more destructive. Okay? But then you might want to contrast maybe that with Romeo's love for Juliet. That becomes beautiful, and they use actually a lot of like biblical and religious language to show that devotion. Now, I've done that with brawling love, but for example, if you wanted to talk about, for example, this line, misshapen chaos and well-seeming forms, you might talk about actually the deceitful nature of love. We think that nature of love, on the surface, it might show something, but in reality, it's something else. And you can link that misshapen chaos links quite nicely with smoke as well. And then you've got this idea of feather, links quite nicely with lightness. So the way that love can make you feel happy. However, ultimately, there's always that negative language associated with love. I hope you find this helpful. Try your best. It's really good to get practicing on writing answers for Romeo and Juliet and A Christmas Carol.